this week we are going through a time of probably unprecedented change in the history of the city, in that we next week will be welcoming 3 new citywide elected officials, and we'll be saying farewell to a number of members of this council and welcoming new members. So this week we'll be taking the opportunity to bid farewell to those who have worked hard in this council, served the people of Los Angeles, and made the sacrifices necessary to be a council member. And we are first today going to recognize and bid our adieus to our colleague, Councilmember Joe Buscaino. And as we begin that, before we take any comments from anybody, I believe we have a video that we're going to start with. So let's go ahead and cue up that video.
Turning point, a fork stuck in the road. Time grabs you by the wrist, directs you where to go. So make the best of this test and don't ask why. It's not a question but a lesson learned in time. It's something unpredictable, but in the end is right. I hope you had the time of your life. So take the photographs and still frames in your mind, hanging on a shelf in good health and good time. Tattoos of memories and dead skin on trial. For what it's worth, it was worth all the while. It's something unpredictable, but in the end is right. I hope you had the time of your life. Something unpredictable, but in the end it's right. I hope you had the time of your life. It's something unpredictable, but in the end is right. I hope you had the time of your life.
Wow. Well, Mr. Buscaino, I can't help but note that your 2022 picture, your farewell picture, prominently features you without a tie. So, yeah, if we could just, as we're beginning our discussion here, invite Joe's staff to join him up here, if we could. Staff present and former who are here with him. And let me just say how impressive that video was as a way to remind us of how much service there has been in Joe's 8 years here on the council, and before that 15 years as a member of the Los Angeles Police Department. You know, coming here as the son of immigrants to rise to this level of leadership, not only in this city, but really nationally, through his presidency of the National League of Cities, and in so many other ways, being a leader of this city who's taken his work here in Los Angeles and made it an example for the rest of the country. It has been a really phenomenal record, and so Joe, I want to thank you and congratulate you for all the work that you've done here, and not only the work that you've accomplished, but how you've accomplished it, because all those people that we saw in the video that you've touched, and so many countless others that you've touched in your district, who've come here, who've been touched by you and your work. It will always stick with me that you almost always conclude your comments with, "We love you." And, you know, sometimes that may be hard to believe, but I know that it's sincere from you, and your leadership has been, you know, based in your commitment to people and your love of people, and you will leave a long legacy here that will continue to last much longer after you physically depart. You'll still be felt here, and we'll still miss you, and we love you. So congratulations, Joe. Let me call on Mr. Kretz.
Thank you, Mr. President. Now, we didn't agree on all the issues, and I thought coming in, Joe was a bit more moderate. Interestingly enough, I think we agreed on more issues as time went on. We were among those that were strongly against defunding the police. Over the years, you also convinced me that 4118 was not a bad idea. It's not criminalizing the homeless. It is just trying to protect our communities and not have encampments in the most problematic locations. And I have found over the years that that is a positive and one that we agree on as well. My family wishes yours much success and happiness in the future.
Thank you very much, Mr. Kretz. Mr. Lee.
Joe, the one vote I can count on, leaving. I've appreciated your support these last few years of being on the council, these last 3 years of mine. I've enjoyed being in our caucus of two. But thank you, Joe. Thank you for your service as a LAPD officer. Thank you for your service as a council member, all your service to the city. And just, you know, how much, you know, I care for you and I love you. And I'm going to miss you.
Thank you. Ms. Rodriguez.
You know, when I was on the Board of Public Works, I think you were the first member that I connected with that served on the council at the time. And, you know, we became fast friends. You were someone that was always so welcoming and so kind. And, you know, when I was elected to this council, you were actually preceding it. You were, I think, my first supporter. And you and Jay and the whole family, there are so many similarities. We were raised with the same family belief in service to our community. You have a servant's heart, and it was exhibited in your work as an LAPD officer, and it continued throughout the course of your service here on the LA City Council. And you have just, you know, your family, your beautiful family has been, they've been wonderful friends. I will always remember the cannoli making karaoke night that we got to enjoy with our families together. I thought it was one of the greatest, most memorable laughs of two families coming from literally the opposite ends of the city in order to enjoy and learn more about one another. But there isn't very much that is different with the way our families are. And so thank you for always being a wonderful friend. Thank you for bringing me into leadership along with you at National League of Cities. I will always be incredibly grateful for that. And thank you for always trying to be inclusive and honoring everybody's voice. And I appreciate you, and I love you all very much. You know, we're going to miss you around this horseshoe, and we'll always be grateful. You've definitely left an indelible mark here in the city of Los Angeles that will never be forgotten. God bless you.
Thank you, Ms. Rodriguez. Mr. Price.
Buscaino.
Wait, are you going to say his name right?
Just why start now? Joe, you know, you just been such a positive guy around the city, certainly around the council, around the horseshoe. You're going to be missed greatly. Certainly, you are a public servant. You know, first as a police officer, then on council. You've continued to have that kind of drive and inclusiveness that has really made a difference. And as Monica mentioned, your service as president of the National League of Cities, and so that brought us all a great deal of pride. But again, just underscored your leadership. Even those times we didn't agree, we were, I think, agreeable. And so again, we just appreciate your contributions. We know that you're not done yet, and we look forward to continuing the collaboration as we move forward. So again, congratulations, keep up the good work. We're going to miss you.
Thank you, Mr. Price. Mr. Bonin. Buckle up.
I'm unaccustomed to speaking and pressing my button until after he's done. So I reserve my right to press the button again. It has become a thing over the years where we have we have disagreed on a lot of stuff, and I'll get to that in a second. But I remember the first time I met you. It was during your campaign, and or I guess it was right after the campaign, before you had taken office. Everybody talked about Warren for Otani, and you know, so many people had backed Warren for Otani, including a lot of the environmental groups. And you showed up for a party for the Los Angeles League of Conservation Voters, and it was such a class act kind of thing to show up to these people who had just given money to your opponent, and your attitude was, I'm the elected official, I got to work with everybody now. And that was sort of an attitude that you brought to this. Joe and I were joking that you know, I actually get crap sometimes because Joe and I talk to each other, and Joe and I smile, and Joe and I laugh together, and because despite all of our differences, Joe and I are friends, and I consider Joe a brother. We fight like brothers. I mean, we actually have a very similar perspective on a lot of things. I think we're both very much informed by our Catholic faith, but we come out on the opposite end of the spectrum on a lot of stuff. And some of those disputes have gotten angry. There are times when, you know, I wanted to slug him, and there's times when I know he turned to Jay at home and said, "Can you believe this?" And you know, and we had our moments, but they always ended with a hug. And I was always glad to be able to sit next to Joe and to talk with him. I've been very lucky with both of my seatmates to have people I genuinely like next to me. But it's so freaking important that we be able to do that, right? I mean, this doesn't work if we can't talk to each other. This doesn't work if we can't see the humanity in the person that we disagree with. We can be opponents on every issue, but we still need to be able to talk to each other, to look each other in the eye. And because we're elected, and we're elected to serve with the other people around this horseshoe. And, you know, because you and I were able to look past our disagreements, we worked together on a lot of stuff. You know, I got to support you on port stuff. You supported me on LAX stuff, and we did some great work together in that committee. And as someone whose in-laws live down in the 15th district, you've done a great job in your district. And the things you've done with the port revitalization, some of the stuff you did with my father-in-law, crafted just amazing, amazing stuff. And you know, we can disagree all day, and we'll probably vote differently tomorrow on 4118, and we may jibe each other about it. But I salute you, man. You brought a ton of homeless housing and shelter to your district, and sometimes you did it over a lot of heartache and pushback, and that's what we need to do. Joe and I got to share a really special moment together in Israel, where before the sun came up, we got to attend a mass together and pray together in the cold at the Church of the Holy Sepulchre. And that was, I mean, no matter what we disagree about, man, that was a moment where we were sort of spiritually bonded. And Joe was translating some of the Latin. And as we walked out in Israel, it started snowing. And it was just a really, really magical moment. You know, I've had the opportunity to sit and talk about my family and what's going on with my kid and you and your kids, and it's always been a bond that I've cherished. The thing that I'm really excited about, though, is we've shared our Italian ancestry. I beat you, man. You did. I am an Italian citizen, for he is an Italian citizen. So you're welcome to the mother country anytime you want. Happy to host you. Just bring some of that sauce from your mom. Right. Thanks.
Thank you, Mr. Bonin. Mr. O'Farrell.
Thank you. I just want to pay tribute to both you and Jay, because you've both committed your professional lives to serving others. Jay, as a lifelong educator, what an incredible gift. I mean, probably everyone remembers every teacher they've ever had through primary school. You're amazing in your own right. And as Joe's better half, he still lives by the motto of to protect and serve. And I became familiar with you when you ran for the seat the first time. Was it back in 2012 or 2011? 2011. And I remember seeing your videos. Where you were driving around, taking a look at on-the-ground issues and remarking on them. And I thought, that is a neighborhood guy who understands the district he is running in. And as a lifelong resident of San Pedro, no one knows those communities better than you. And the neighborhoods have benefited from your service. And something else that I really love about our relationship is Indigenous Peoples Day. I have to chuckle because that did not interfere with our friendship. In fact, we bonded on the humor of it all afterward. It was pretty intense leading up into it, but you know, I'm of Native American heritage, so I'm passionate about this issue. And you're passionate about all the cultural issues that you care about that I so deeply and profoundly respect as well. But we created Indigenous Peoples Day, and that very evening we were at an event, and we hugged and said hellos, and we were good. And about a year later, when I was a subject of the diabetes roast, you were hosting, and you did something hilarious, which I just love and I'll never forget. When you did the video of me, you put a statue the size of the Statue of Liberty at the intersection of Highland and Hollywood, of Columbus, of Christopher Columbus. So the visual was not lost on me, and I just love the humor in that, because it shows that neither one of us really, at the end of the day, take anything all too seriously. But we know that we do serious business around this horseshoe. And you have executed that serious business with aplomb and thoughtfulness. And as Mr. Krikorian said, with love in your heart. You lead with love. And I respect that so much. Let me just lastly say, President of the National League of Cities, what a huge accomplishment that is. Leaders from municipalities across the United States got to see you at your best for those years that you were on the board and the year that you were president. And you did this city proud. And every time we would travel to the League of Cities, we would enjoy seeing you up there and we would cheer you on because we're all so very, very proud of your representation of this city at National League of Cities. So I will also miss you and Jay, but your legacy is just fantastic. And your constituents will grow to appreciate all that you have done as the years roll by. And your successes and accomplishments will not be forgotten. And I salute your staff, your incredible team. You have probably, I thought I had the lowest turnover rate of any city council office, but you might have me beat at that. And that's a testament to your leadership because your team loves you as well. And because of that, you're able to provide greater public service. So congratulations on all of these issues and accomplishments.
Thank you, Mr. O'Farrell. Ms. Rahman.
I just wanted to rise and say, I think I'm the person who's had the opportunity to know you the least, Joe, around this horseshoe, but I've really enjoyed getting to know you. And I wanted to just share two things. One, you're the only person, every time we talk, you ask about my family first. And I think that reflects the place that your family has in your life. And you're not just asking because you are making small talk. You really want to know how my kids are doing. You really want to know how my husband's doing. And when I first started on this council, I know he offered to put our spouses in touch because he said, it's going to be hard for you, but it's going to be really hard for your spouse. And I'm very grateful for that. And I also just wanted to also lift up your staff. We've had a really wonderful working relationship, particularly with your legislative team, Dennis. You're fabulous. And I just wanted to say that their dedication to the work comes from your dedication to the issues that you're most passionate about, and that was really reflected in our relationship with them. So thank you, and thank you to your staff, and thank you for your partnership. Thanks.
Thank you, Ms. Rahman. Mr. Blumenfield.
You have been an amazing colleague and friend. You have this great mix of local, sort of district focus, city focus, and then beyond. You are one of those folks who you love your district. It's so apparent in everything. And I know that goes back to your senior lead days. And, you have created a tremendous amount of interventions in your district. And I think a lot of times, people come in and they're talking trash and they have no idea the fact that you have leaned in like no other and just created and created and created because we know you care. And you care about getting people housed and getting them off the streets. I remember, when safe parking was just this idea, this innovation, you and I took that tour over in Koreatown of sort of the first safe parking lot. And we did this video to tell everybody else how amazing safe parking is and what we learned. And we talked, I'll never forget those conversations we had with all the residents of that safe parking lot and how moving that was to both of us. And then we went off to our districts and created safe parking and helped lead the city in that direction. So you've been an innovator on the city level in so many respects, and then decided to go be the president of the League of Cities and really put your stamp on the country and the world. So you've used this perch as a council person to not only do right and do good for your district and the city, but really so far beyond. And I've had tremendous respect for you. You're someone who walks the walk, talks the talk, and bikes the bike. And what I mean by that is, on bike day, you would bike all the way from San Pedro up to here. And I think you did it without an e-bike, at least the first time you did it.
The first few times I did not.
No, but you bike the bike. it's one of the things we love about you is that you're so genuine about caring about the city, about caring about your community, your staff, your family. Obviously, we all talked about that. So it really has just been an honor and a privilege to know you, to work with you. And I know it's not a arrivederci forever. I think arrivederci has, you can correct me if I'm wrong, it also means until we meet again, not just goodbye. Arrivederci. I know that you will continue to be a presence here, not just a legacy presence, but you'll continue to be all of our friends, and we'll be hearing from you, and I look forward to that. And I just wish you and your family and your whole team really success and just good tidings. Thanks, brother. So thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Bloomfield. You know, Joe, one of the things that I most loved about that video tribute that we just saw is that for, I think, most elected officials, a video tribute would be filled with lots of pictures of ribbon cuttings and pictures of buildings that have been built and infrastructure and so on. And about, I think, 95% of that video was you hugging people and shaking people's hands and greeting people in this council chambers and celebrating people and lifting them up. And I think that says so much about you, and it also says so much about how your staff knows that that's what's most important to you. And so it was tremendous to see that, because it was so emblematic of everything that we all know about you. And I think that's been reflected in the comments that you've heard from members, that even when there has been disagreement and even when there has been conflict in this chambers, you understand, and I wish the rest of the country would really understand, that we can be passionate about issues without making enemies of those who disagree with us. And you've always emulated that. And I hope that, you know, people who come into this chambers and tend to want to try to make everything so cut and dry and cast people as being evil or wonderful have to realize that this is an endeavor of human beings trying to serve other human beings and work with other human beings. And I think you've emulated that as well as anybody that I've ever known. That being said, there are a lot of accomplishments and deliverables as well, that even though they weren't pictured. And I think it's just kind of worth noting that, because as we were chatting a little bit earlier, sometimes when we're all engaged in the emergency of the day, we lose sight of the longer view of what we've left behind in our service to our districts and to our city. And so I just want to highlight just a couple of things. Just the waterfront and the port alone. You've led the redevelopment of the old ports of call. You helped bring the battleship Iowa to the waterfront. You've made 12 acres of the outer harbor a premier event space. You bought the craft maker space to the port. You've redeveloped the Wilmington Marina Parkway in downtown San Pedro. Improvements to the Harbor Boulevard roadway, the West Harbor waterfront makeover, the Wilmington waterfront promenade, Fleet Week, more than once, actually. In other communities in the 15th district, you've served extraordinarily well. You brought over $160 million in park improvements to your district, which will benefit kids for years and years to come, kids and others. As the chair of Trade, Travel, and Tourism, and otherwise just as the representative of the 15th district, you've been one of the champions globally of the most important port complex in the Western Hemisphere. And I couldn't help but note that every member on this council who seems to have taken an international trip seems to have gone with you. So I can only assume you've been on all of them, it seems like. And that's been for good reason, because your district is the most important source of trade for the United States of America. And you've been a champion of that. So, and then when it comes to homelessness, as Mike and others mentioned, again, very easy for observers on the sidelines to stereotype people as you're either this or you're that. Well, you know, here's a few things. You created by that much the second navigation center in the city, coming just a little bit after mine, but you opened that navigation center. It's, you know, it's personal. not one, not two, 3 safe parking sites in your district, a bridge home facility, a 75-unit tiny home village, project room key in your district with 168 beds, remodeling almost 100 units of a project home key, permanent supportive housing projects, 13 under construction in the next 2 years, of permanent supportive housing in Council District 5, thanks to Joe Buscaino. 4 affordable housing projects with almost 400 units under construction within the next year. And again and again and again, we could list project after project. Those are the things that people don't pay attention to when they're trying to cast us in a certain way. But that's a record of service that you've accomplished that you should be very proud of, and that will, benefit people for many, many years to come. So, Joe, on behalf of everybody who's benefited from your service, on behalf of all of the residents of the city of Los Angeles, and certainly on behalf of all of the members, current and former, with whom you've served in this council, we can't thank you enough and express to you and to Jay our appreciation for your great service. Councilmember Joe Buscaino.
Thank you. From a child of Italian immigrants, mom and dad came here, as you've heard the story over and over, in the late 60s. This city has been so good to me and my family. A city who allowed me to serve at my local park, where I was recruited to join the LAPD, and over the course of these last nearly, Paul, 11 years, as a council member, has been a true honor and blessing. And these last 3 decades have been an incredible journey. Relationships from my days at Bogdanovich Park to serving as a senior lead officer, one of my dream jobs in my own hometown. These relationships with CPAB members, neighborhood watch members, business watch members, serving alongside the country's finest police officers, and having be elected, it was incredible. People thought that they would have never elected their own police officer to represent them here at City Hall. I will forever be appreciative of our CD15 residents, our community partners, those who brought investment into our district, and the entire city family, from the CLA's office, CAO's office, to all the departments, from the airport to the port, LAPD, fire department, DWP, all who were active and engaged and worked with me and my team to help improve the entire CD15 district. Thank you, thank you. We have collectively left a mark in our district and are leaving it better than we started. Thank you. To my successor, Tim McCosker, there's no better person, Tim, to carry on our accomplishments. We are in good hands moving forward with your knowledge and skills. And colleagues, you're going to have an incredible time working alongside Tim. To my team, behind me, thanks, Mike. In my nearly 30 years of service to this city, I've never witnessed a more caring, dedicated, relentless group of individuals who have poured their hearts and souls into improving the lives of the residents of CD15. From outside-the-box approaches to solving the most pressing problems, to rolling up their sleeves and picking up a shovel at times, doing the dirty work, from planning detailed, memorable community events, to lending their voices to our annual karaoke parties. This group here, colleagues, I'm so grateful to each and every one of them who have served with me, including my chief advisor, the sage of City Hall, my chief of staff, Jenny Chavez, who guided my team for 9 of the 11 years. Jenny, come on up. I was just given your 20-year pin. 20 years of dedicated service. To my colleagues, both past and present, those who have left us, what an incredible ride, or should I say roller coaster. I'll never forget the day, as indicated earlier, the day after I won my election in 2012, walking into these hallowed John Ferraro chambers, wide-eyed coming off the streets as a senior lead officer, not knowing what to expect. Thank you, colleagues, for allowing me to lead my district with and trusting me with and supporting my decisions to move CD 15 forward with legacy projects. Thank you for putting up with my emotions, particularly through closed session. It's just being passionate, I guess. Being passionate, I've always felt the need to laugh a little during my tenure, as was indicated, and I've kind of embodied the words of Charlie Chaplin, who once said, "A day without laughter is a day wasted." To my NLC road dog, Mitch O'Farrell, one of the fondest memories serving alongside you on the NLC, Mitch, was bringing the conference in 2018 to the city of Los Angeles. And to watch you lead our colleagues across the country to add Indigenous municipal officials as an official NLC constituency group was an honor to see that come to life. Congratulations to you, my friend. To John Lee, fratello, I was told as a council member that leadership can be lonely unless you're with John Lee. Thank you, John, for standing with me and being on the other no vote. I have never felt alone serving alongside you, my brother. I love you. And to my seatmate, Mike, my Italian brother, now an Italian citizen who reminds me every damn day. You remind me of that family member, my brother, at the Thanksgiving table who you love and respect, but God forbid brings up politics. Expect a debate. Mike, as you mentioned earlier, you and I have shown the city that we can respectfully agree to disagree, and I can't wait to start our new radio show, the Bonnet and Buscaino Vinegar and Oil Show.
I got top billing. You got it.
Love you, man. Finally, to my family who are watching on Channel 35, mom, dad, my mother-in-law, I love you so much, and thank you for molding and shaping the person who I am today. And finally, to my life partner, my dance partner, my go-to karaoke partner. My wife, Jay, I love and appreciate your support over the years and your guidance. Thank you for keeping me grounded. You know, as our spouses, there's so many sacrifices, as you know, that we ask of them. I love the times when we would be having dinner. I was just talking to Mike about this earlier. We'd be having a dinner at date night when a constituent would pull up a chair at our table asking for a tree to be trimmed.
And never get up.
But Jay wouldn't flinch. Thank you for lending your love. Thank you for lending a shoulder to lean on and for being my rock. And in times in service, guys, we look forward, some of you look forward to going home.
On most days.
On most days. But knowing that Jay and my kids were my saving grace and my safe place, I love you for your commitment and for your support. I would like to now ask Channel 35 to cue Starships. Nothing's going to stop us now. I'm just kidding. So thank you, colleagues, for this honor. continue to lead with love and conviction. New members are coming in a time when our city is fractured. Expect more debate and disagreement, and in those times when things don't go your way, I leave you with some of my favorite Ted Lasso lines. Do you know what the happiest animal on earth is? It's a goldfish. You know why? It's got a 10-second memory. So be a goldfish. Thank you. I love you, and thank you for this honor.
Joe Buscaino, and to his family and staff.